Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Um, We'll get started with our questions. I had the opportunity to go to the Army Museum over the weekend. I saw a little blurb on one of the morning shows about the new exhibit there, and it's in the Army Museum, but it really is about the fighting patriots that really, were so stepped forward at the time of crisis as our country was beginning. But I'd really recommend that all of you go and see it. It's outstanding. Again, it's in the Army Museum, but it's really not an Army museum in the Army exhibit, in the sense that that same spirit is what embodies you all, the people that have served since then, that have done such a tremendous job of keeping us safe, keeping us free, the sacrifices of you in uniform and your families. It certainly is a family affair. And we're going to be talking about housing, all of the things that we can do to keep, families together, that aspect of things. So let's start out with Mr. Marks. Mr. Marks, given the ongoing legal uncertainty surrounding project labor agreements, how is the department managing the day-to-day impact on projects in the pipeline, especially those approaching award, that are now stalled due to uncertainty over whether a PLA is required or not? Has any guidance been given to avoid delays or compliance issues in the interim? And finally, how will this impact the projects in this year's request if it's determined that PLAs are required?
Senator, first, thank you for that question, and I do appreciate—
Lots of questions.
Yes, Senator. But I do appreciate the time that we did have to begin to discuss this. First and foremost, as I shared with you, anything that increases cost and schedule is of a concern to the department right now. And so we're working very, very hard to look at that. The administration supports the use of project labor agreements where those are practicable and cost effective. But I, again, want to emphasize that I affirm and recognize your concerns about the costs and the drivers that could potentially cause those projects to increase. Right now, we're not going to be pursuing any blanket deviations, but we are working with NAVFAC and USACE to go project by project and ensure that we are finding the most economical and speedy way to continue to move these projects along, so that we can assess those on a project by project basis. We're also working with OMB to determine our next steps and how we best address this issue for the long term, given the nature of where we stand today. And so the impact of that, as we spoke earlier, is all about mission and readiness and how do we drive that forward. And so much of the directions that we've given in working with these esteemed colleagues to my left is really to continue to drive those as quickly as we possibly can to meet the readiness concerns we have and to keep the costs down as best as we possibly can.
Very good. Thank you. The Deputy Secretary of Defense directed a review of the MILCON portfolio to identify opportunities for greater efficiency. As you know, initiatives like this often take time. While the review isn't complete, I'd like to hear from the panel, are there any early findings or promising areas that could be acted on quickly? Since you're already in the midst of building the fiscal year 2027 budget, is there any realistic expectation that these efficiencies will be reflected in that submission, or are we likely looking at a longer timeline before we see tangible changes?
Senator, let me lead with that just in a broad sense, and then I'll defer to my colleagues. But as we are working on those, some of the early things that we are examining continue to be the use of other transactional authorities where it makes sense to move quickly. More importantly, we're taking a page from our partners at Defense Innovation Unit with an accelerated design build, ways to bring contractors together more quickly, get through this changing requirements idea so that we can get it done quickly, move it ahead quickly. The idea of also building projects, bundling multiple projects together where that makes sense, so that we can, again, move things together quickly. And then finally, the idea behind replacing failed or failing facilities, so the repair by replace work that we've done collectively, to more efficiently replace those using O&M dollars. Again, all of those are things that we want to share collectively and make sure that we're doing those in a way that moves us ahead transparently to meet the mission requirements.
Anyone else?
Senator, as you said, the Milcon cost is really astronomical and really getting out of hand. So what our objective is to think, act, and operate differently in the Navy for possible alternative construction methods, modular construction, using tension fabric structures instead of regular brick and mortar. That will buy us some efficiencies both in cost and time. Also, Honorable Marks mentioned about block buy of specific types of buildings that we do repetitively, such as CDCs and barracks, could bring the cost down.
Very good. Senator Ossoff.